Welcome to Sense of Style. I'm Stuart, and I am Canadian, but at the age of 13, my family moved to Australia, and we were there for 3.5 years. But especially early on, and especially at school, things got very interesting. Because, first off, I was the new kid, and that was already attention getting enough. But then when I opened my mouth and I sounded American, boy, the floodgates opened. People were so curious. They wanted to know as much as possible about me, and I got a lot of attention. And really, it ended up being a fun experience. But I think we can do the same thing with fragrances, because let's face it, unless you're in a big urban center, most men, at least in North America and Western Europe, are not really going to be wearing that many fragrances. So already you're capturing someone's attention by wearing one. But then if you wear something interesting with some contrast, a little twist here or there, you're going to get that double take, which can lead to some interesting conversations with both men and women. And let's face it, we all love talking about fragrances and maybe even a little bit about ourselves. So let's get to it. Fragrance number 1 is Dior Fahrenheit Le Parfum. And this fragrance is full of contrast, but the main one here is a contrast between old school and new school. Because the new school element is definitely here. It's a 12-year-old fragrance, but this was one of the first fragrances that had legitimate gourmand credentials. You're talking about vanilla, rum, and licorice. So it has a gourmand feel, but it's also a Fahrenheit fragrance. So you're going to get a ton of leather and violet leaf, that original Fahrenheit vibe. And so, yeah, old school and new school all the way. And one of the things that I really like about this is tons of the young influencers love this, at the same time hating the original Fahrenheit, because they're familiar with the vanilla. They know that, and it's kind of an entryway into the whole Fahrenheit experience. So the leather, the violet leaf is there, but it's more rounded. It's toned down a little bit. It's softened. So it's going to appeal to old guys because there's plenty of that Fahrenheit DNA, and the young guys, so it's got plenty of mass appeal, but it's definitely like a vanilla gourmand fragrance with bite. It's important to mention the quality of the fragrance. When Dior describes the vanilla note here, they always mention the fact that it's high quality vanilla absolute. That is the most expensive, highest quality vanilla note you can get. Basically Parfum de Marly level vanilla, and it's here. So the quality is here. The performance is here. The big drawback with this fragrance is availability. It's always been spotty, but at the moment you can get 75 milliliters, that's just this bottle size, for $130 US at FragranceNet. So it is available at the moment. So there's no excuses. Fantastic fragrance to wear for contrast and for attention. Fragrance number 2 is Tom Ford's Black Orchid, and when I went to grab this fragrance for the video, I realized that I have hardly any left, and this is so critical to my collection that I've been deciding over the last couple of days, do I get a decant for the 3rd time, or do I actually break down and buy a bottle of this despite the price? Because I think in terms of contrast and in terms of attention-getting possibilities, this is the number 1 fragrance in my collection. Now, Fahrenheit Parfum has a contrast between old school and new school. The contrast here is between masculine and feminine. And yes, there are 5 floral notes here, including a very feminine orchid note. But what most guys don't realize is just how dark this is. It's very dark and sweet. A lot of vanilla, a lot of chocolate. But the other dark elements are very masculine. For instance, there's a lot of incense here. There's also truffles. And truffles, I'm not sure if you guys are aware, but they get pigs to dig them out of the ground. They sniff them out, right? So it's got a very earthy smell. And then you got a ton of patchouli as well, another masculine note. So yeah, it's a unisex fragrance that leans feminine, but there are enough masculine elements here to make the contrast fascinating. And if you wear something masculine and people smell this on you, there's going to be some questions that they want answered. It's going to be puzzling to them. And that's what you want if you want to get attention. If you want to start conversations, get things going, it's a perfect fragrance for that. Fragrance number 3 is Cedrat Boisee Intense from Mancera. And this is a fresh fragrance with both oud and leather and even a little bit of sandalwood. And those darker, woodier notes tend to help it a lot in cool weather. In other words, it's more versatile, but where really the contrast really pick up is in the summer. If you wear a fresh fragrance like this in the summer and you get the oud and you get the leather, you get that little bit of an animalic feel, that is a huge contrast. And yet the fragrance is still appealing because the combination of citrus and black currant, I mean, it's got an Aventus vibe. It's like a Ventus with woods. And that's why I love this so much more than the original Cedrat Boisee, which really, for all intents and purposes, was just a high quality, less expensive version of Aventus. This added another component. This added an interesting component. And I think it really takes effect in the summer. Say what you want about the House of Mancera. They're not the highest quality niche house in the world, but man, do their fragrances perform. This is no exception. This is an extrait de parfum, a fragrance extract, so 20% fragrance oil at least. And so, and look, that's the problem that I have with summer fragrances. They go away after 4 hours, so many of them anyway. This one, no. This one is between 8 and 10 hours. The projection is really solid. So not only are you going to smell interesting, they're going to be able to actually smell you in the spring and summer days if you wear this. Yeah, this one I like a lot more than the OG Cedrat Boisee. Fragrance number 4 is Dior Homme Parfum 2020. And this might be a surprise to some people that it's on this list. However, you want to talk contrast. And let's face it, contrasts are interesting. You get two things that are very different that clash. Well, what you're getting here is an awful lot of iris and an awful lot of leather. There are some fragrances out there that have a lot of iris and a little bit of leather. Not here. You're going to get a ton of both, right? And iris is sophisticated. It's also fairly light, right? You look at something like Prada L'Homme, whereas leather is dark, right? There's no question. So you get the darkness to go with the iris. Is definitely a clash. And that's one of the reasons why a fair amount of people don't even like this fragrance, right? Sometimes when you're dealing with contrast and getting things interesting, not everyone is going to like it. However, the problem that I have with people that don't like it is I think it's a lack of imagination. Because let's face it, most people, when they try fragrances like this, you're at the mall, right? You're dressed like a normal human being and you go and you put it on and you're like, oh, it's okay. You got to use your imagination. Imagine yourself in a tuxedo. That is the only way where you can really appreciate how good this is, because this is dark. It's an evening scent. It's something that you wear with a tuxedo. You wear to when you go to the Oscars or when you go to a cocktail party with all the fancy people. If you're going to be in any situation like that, if you go to a lot of weddings, this is absolutely fantastic. It's formal. It's dark. It's like the greatest day of your life type fragrance. Phenomenal performance, but contrasting and interesting as well. So yes, iris and leather are definitely a huge contrast. This, however, is Kenzo Homme Eau de Parfum. And this is even a bigger contrast because you have got C notes combined with a much dirtier, much less sophisticated leather note, creating a really strange experience. Throw in patchouli to boot. And yeah, this one is completely outside the box. And this is a fragrance, the more I appreciate that contrast, the more I like it. I was going to sell this. I've changed my mind because in the summer, you're going to get all those C notes. It's quite fresh. You're going to get that. You're going to notice a fresh fragrance, but you're going to be like, what is that in the background? Because the leather here is strong too. I mean, I don't know about the patchouli. It's not super prominent here, but those other two notes really battle it out. And I think the leather really helps the performance because this is super long lasting. It's also the Kenzo Homme #1 fragrance in terms of Fragrantica rating. This is a Quentin Bisch creation, so, I mean, he knows what he's doing, right? Fragrance number 6 is Amber Oud Black Edition from El Haramain. And boy, is this a crazy fragrance in so many ways, because the Amber Oud line is meant to be a clone line. And to date, I haven't figured out what this is supposed to be cloning. There's a couple of different theories. One is Effing Fabulous by Tom Ford. The other is Latent Exclusive. I've tried both of those fragrances. I don't think either one fits 100%. I don't know if this is even a clone. And another thing weird about it is I have no idea how the notes that they give us add up to what this smells like. And what I really get is a very dark fragrance, almost a little licoricey, not a super sweet licorice, but a licorice-like fragrance. And I think the key here, though, is This is like a $40 fragrance if you were to get the 60 ml bottle that I have. And yet the performance is 12 hours on my skin. No problem. Like, it is super strong. So yeah, it's different. It's not like anything out there. I mean, if you're a clone house and you make a fragrance that doesn't smell like other clones, you know it's different. Fragrance number 7 is Bentley for Men Intense, one of the strangest fragrances that I've ever worn. It's super inexpensive. It performs like a monster. It's got some sort of toxic feel, but it's also got like an underlying sweetness with benzoin and cinnamon that make it intoxicating. So it's hyper masculine, but still appealing at the same time, which is not something that I normally experience. And quite frankly, it's taken me a while to pick up the appealing element here. I couldn't stand this at the beginning, but I really like it now. And I've started to make a small dent after not wanting to wear it at all. But yeah, it's definitely different. So you're going to get the masculine quality. There's rum, there's incense, there's leather. And so that's strong and yeah, quite boozy. But yeah, that benzoin and cinnamon, that's appealing. There's a lot of benzoin here. So it's got a definite sweet quality and it's got a definite lot of performance. Not the most nuanced fragrance in the world, but it works and it will get you attention. And finally, we have Afnan's Supremacy Incense. I think one of the more underrated fragrances from Afnan. This is a clone of Amouage's Interlude Man. And while the longevity here, I get about 6 or 7 hours, it's nothing like Interlude Man. The projection is. This projects insane. This is top 5 in terms of projection in my entire collection. And this is when I realized that Afnan were not messing around. You'll definitely get attention with this one. I don't know if this one fits this theme of contrasts all that well, but in terms of getting attention, in terms of getting noticed, in terms of starting conversations, this will definitely do it. Holy moly. So you're going to get a lot of smoky notes. You're going to get oud. There's some oregano in there. And then there are 3 resinous notes. So the sweetness here is resin, but really the key to this is the performance. Like you could put 2 sprays on and you would annoy people with 2 sprays. That's how strong this is. And so this was the first clone, I think, that sort of blew me away with the performance. Now a lot of them do, but this one was doing it back in the day. So contrasts are where it's at. You want contrast. We didn't get it so much with this one, but with the other ones, there's always some kind of contrast going on. It just creates a little puzzle. People get curious. Then they want to ask questions. And, you know, we can tell ourselves, oh, no, I don't wear this for other people. I wear it for me. But it's always fun when someone goes, what is that you're wearing? You know, even if it's negative, I swear to God, I'm at the stage now where if someone notices, I'm like, oh, I'm not lying to myself. I do like that. It is fun. Anyway, thanks for watching.